Hello everyone, welcome to today's Hangout on Air featuring our brand new Gone Google Guide.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's Hangout on Air featuring our brand new Gone Google Guide.
Okay, I'm joined today by our Google Apps Change Management Specialists, Carolyn Usick, and our friends at the Weather Channel, Christina and Nick.
Hey.
Hey.
As you can see, they brought their Weather Channel background. And I'm Christina Mondini. I'm part of our enterprise team here at Google. Today we're going to share some tips and tricks from the Weather Channel, as well as do an overview of the guide. And with that, Carolyn, why don't you kick us off?
Sure, thanks Christina. So I'm going to take you through a little information about our new Going Google Guide, and then I'll hand it over to the Weather Channel and they'll tell you their story. So first I want to talk a little bit about change management and what it is. For those of you who don't know about that term, it's a great way to have a smoother transition to Google Apps. So let's go to the next slide. After that, we'll cover what's in the guide, and then again, we'll hand it off to the Weather Channel so you can hear their story. So what is change management and why is it important? Well, change management is all about understanding that people a lot of benefits to incorporating this into your approach when you transition to Google Apps. It can really make your transition go faster and smoother. They've done studies, and projects that include change management are correlated with a project that stays on schedule and meets their objectives. Also, users are more satisfied with apps because they understand the benefits. And finally, your teams will adopt more apps, features, and products because they'll understand how to use their new tools. They've actually quantified the impact of change management. So one study they did involves the return on investment. So McKinsey conducted this study, and as you can see from the chart here, they actually found that projects with excellent change management had a much higher ROI, so 143% as opposed to only 35% for projects that had poor or no change management. So what does this mean for you as you're getting ready to deploy Google Apps and you're making that change? Well, we have a simple model that you can use with your users to ensure you have a structured approach. And it includes 3 components: get ready, communicate, and train. So I'll tell you a little bit about each of these components, and then you'll hear more when the Weather Channel tells you their story. So when I say get ready, I'm really talking about understanding your organization, making sure you've got sponsorship, you understand the business impact, and that you recruit Google Guides. And Google Guides are employees in your organization that offer informal support to their peers around Google Apps. They're Google Apps champions. Communications, all about really selling Google Apps to your users and keeping them informed with frequent messaging. And finally, training's really about educating your users, understanding training needs, and pointing them to resources like a training site or other learning options that we make available to you from Google. So let's move on to our next section. I'll tell you a little bit more about what you'll find inside our guide. Our guide is a visual handbook that you can use to understand change management. And you can get it by visiting deployment.googleapps.com and selecting change management. This is 100 pages, but you don't have to read the whole thing. You can really flip through it and check out the pictures, quotes, and examples to get inspired about big. Now, when we put the guide together, we tried to incorporate real-life examples from customers like you who've made the switch to Google Apps. And you'll actually find more than 50 quotes from customers and partners. They give you advice and really tell you a little bit more about their experience, similar to the experience that you'll be hearing today from the Weather Channel. So one example that you'll see on this slide is from Genentech. So they created a whole internal marketing campaign with cartoon characters. They called them the Google Squad. And so you'll see their Gmail man on this slide. Another great item that you'll find in the Change Management Guide are links to tons of resources. So we don't want you to do this by yourself, and we definitely recommend that you check out all the resources available from Google for you for free. So one example is our Life After Microsoft Outlook Guide, and this is a really helpful resource for users that are transitioning from Outlook to Gmail. So this is just one example of something that you'll find in the guide that you can use with your company. So with that, I want to turn it over to the Weather Channel. They're going to tell you a little bit more about their story.
This is Nick. And this is Christina.
Reporting live from the Weather Channel. Latest reports show that there are Google Clouds hovering over the Weather Channel offices in Boston, Wisconsin, San Francisco, New York, and Atlanta. Christina, can you give us some details on what you're hearing on the ground?
Sure. It seems these clouds are producing collaboration and sharing effects. There are also many areas reporting a sharp increase in productivity.
Well, that's the latest news around the Google Cloud phenomenon.
Up next, the Weather Channel story and our top 10 tips.
Thanks, Christina, and thanks everybody for joining us to hear our story. Many of you know that the Weather Channel started as a 24/7 network devoted to weather, and that's still our mission today. It's all about weather. We consist of 4 companies, 8 locations, and around 1,300 employees worldwide. Due to this diversity, it became quite apparent to us when we were going to change to Google Apps that we needed a sound change management process in place. To do this, we partnered with Cloud Sherpas, who had done the change management before, to help guide us through the process. We've put together our top 10 tips that we feel will help you guys if you decide to incorporate this change management process in the future.
Great. So our first tip we have for you today is understand how your organization deals with change. We knew that this was going to be a big change here at the Weather Channel and that we needed to take time and learn about our company and what we needed to do for change management. We knew we needed to build trust and have high expectations out of our project team in order to have a successful deployment.
Yeah, we also understood that change is handled different by everybody throughout the organization. So as soon as we kind of got a handle on that, we could really then formulate our process and how we wanted to attack the different portions of our organization. And that brings us to our second tip. Tailor approach to your culture. So every enterprise's culture is different, big or small, but you all have a culture. So grasp that culture, take the uniqueness of it, and use it implement it in your change management. Like for instance, what we did a lot of is we implemented weather sayings, weather graphics throughout all the communications, the posters, and it was very, very well received.
Yeah, and we were lucky enough that we have an in-house design team who was actually able to help us come up with great marketing material that had the Weather Channel look and feel. And that brings us to tip number 3. We say you should be noisy. We found that our company wanted to know what was going on with the change. They wanted to be in the loop. So we kept them involved by sending out daily emails and also keeping a blog up to date.
Yeah, we might send an email that says, hey, go check out this latest training video, and then we would send the same thing again in 2 days because people are busy, they miss emails, so being noisy, sending more communications, we found that to be a very positive thing. Which brings us to our 4th point, be specific. At the beginning, we would send the communications and they were kind of long-winded, and we started to figure out that, they only were looking at the first few sentences. So we adjusted and we said, okay, let's just send short, sweet comms and a lot of them, and that changed how people were getting to the training sites, aware of when training was, just aware of the overall change in general. So that was a total positive.
And tip number 5 we have is go for the Google Guides program they mentioned earlier. Why not? These are individuals in your company who are looking for leadership roles. They're stepping up, they want to be involved, and they really help. We found that it helped create a positive atmosphere in the office and helped keep everyone excited about the change.
And we feel, when we look back on it, the Google Guides was probably the most important thing for the go live day. And if we wouldn't have done that, it would not have been good. But the way we did it was we kind of did a little different. Instead of going to each department and saying, hey, we need 3 people, we just sent it out to the entire organization and said, hey, sign up here if you want to be a Google Guide. And at first, when we did that, we felt that was kind of a little bit of a risk because we were thinking, okay, we might get back, 5?
Hoping people would sign up.
Yeah, but within the hour, we already had 20. And by the end of day 1, I think we were about 50 signed up. And when it was all said and done, over 100 had signed up. But I think, what did we have in the end, the actual
About
guides?
60 people out of all locations, and it really helped on Go Live Day.
Right, because a lot of people due to their schedules, they weren't able to be there, or due to their work, they weren't able to participate and be one of those guides. But, and then our 6th one tip is spend extra time with administrative assistants. So, we knew of this going in, but we really didn't realize how important this actually was. And so you need to look at administrative assistants as they work differently than the average employee. They have different needs. They manage multiple calendars, multiple inboxes. They have more of a complex environment. So the sooner you can realize that and really get ahead of that, the better off you're going to be. So we actually spent, with each administrative assistant, we did one-on-ones, we did extra trainings. And when's our next training for?
Tomorrow.
We have another one tomorrow, and we went live on January 14th. So to realize that, that's a big change for them. So just use the white glove treatment when it comes to administrative assistants.
And we even had some of them, administrative assistants, bring us into tip number 7, come on board as early adopters. So we took the approach and had about 200 of our employees come on to Google before we went live with the entire organization, and we found this to be extremely helpful. They gave us great feedback, and they were willing to help us improve the process so when we went live it was successful.
Yeah, and I mean, you need to listen to your early adopters. I know it's hard that you kind of put forth a lot of effort and come up with this process, but ultimately they're your test users. I mean, listen to what they say. If they're saying something isn't working or something can be improved, take the 5-10 minutes and really consider that, because it makes a big difference. Which takes us to tip number 8. Support after go live. So everybody knows, you have a big change coming, you're going to support up to go live, and then a few days, that go live day and maybe the day after. But you need to realize that support needs to go on for months. So you need to get a dedicated team, you need to have a plan in place that support will be there, because things are going to keep coming up, and you're not going to be able to discover everything. You won't be able to know every ins and outs until the day of, and somebody comes and says this isn't working, a couple weeks later, and you've got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, a great approach we also took was we created a new email address just for this project, and it made us approachable. People emailed us, contacted us, gave us great feedback, and we thought it was a great way for questions and to escalate issues.
And we also created basically like a open room environment that people could come to, and they knew it was called what, the Google Room, right?
Office hours.
And we did, office hours. So people would come to the Google Room during their office hours. They'd bring their devices. We'd help set them up. It'd be basically like one-on-one treatment that really went a long way to show the company, we're dedicated to make sure every single person is set up correctly to do their job, to be productive and make this change successful.
And to be successful brings us to tip number 9. You need to have fun. Everyone wants to be where people are having fun, and this is a great opportunity to have fun at work. It's a big change, and you get to be working with all different departments. You meet new people, and it's a fun way to make a change less stressful and more enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult change, so why not make it fun? Include everybody. Create a positive atmosphere. Really put forth those extra steps to kind of bring up the, this is going to be great, this is going to be positive. Get people involved. It goes a long way in the end. It really does. Which brings us to our 10th tip. Keep calm and Google on. Everything's going to work out in the end, and you got to realize that this is just a start of a journey. It's a start of a change of a way to work as a company, and it's going to be very, very good moving forward. So those are our 10 tips, and I think now we're going to move on into the question and answer section.
Great, everyone. Thank you guys so much for sharing. We do have a few questions, but first, wanted to give you guys some applause.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, our first question, let's see. This one's for Nick. So how did you get executives on Google Apps?
So, we knew this was going to be a big change to the company. It was going to touch every single person. So we knew it was very important to get the executive team, on board, part of the change. So we actually had an offsite with the leadership team, and we presented Google. We presented, what our current culture is, our current environment, what the Google culture is and the Google environment moving forward, how we were going to use it between companies, how we're going to use it to collaborate, how we were going to knock down some blockades, by just moving to this platform. But we were also honest. I mean, we told them, look, this isn't going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. This isn't as easy as just upgrading to the latest, greatest version of what you got. I mean, this is changing everything. This is changing the way you work. So, you know, we were honest. We talked through it with them all, and they got on board, and they really supported it, and they understood that it was going to be a big change, and it wasn't going to be an overnight change, but we looked to the future, and we looked to where it was going to take us, and
a lot of them were excited too because they even joined as early adopters and volunteered to go live first before the organization. So I think that was great support that Nick got from the executive team.
Yeah, it's always great when your COO, your CIO, and CEO hop on as early adopters and are ready to rock.
Great. Next question is for Carolyn. Carolyn, how is this beneficial for small businesses?
Well, the guide's really beneficial for small businesses because it points you to all the tools and resources that you need to run a successful change management program. So many times with smaller businesses, we see much smaller teams. So maybe there's only one person who's really supporting me switch to Google Apps. And so what the guide does is it brings together all the resources that we have for free that you can use with your end users. I also think a lot of the best practices around communications and user education can be tailored to a much smaller organization. So as the Weather Channel mentioned, it's all about knowing your organization's culture and how you approach change. And as a small business, I think you can apply that same idea as well.
Great, thanks, Carolyn. Our next one is for, is there anything else you guys wanted to add to that?
I think that sounded great.
Okay. So for the Weather Channel, how long did change management take?
Started at day one.
Yeah. So for us, we decided we wanted to really move fast on this project, and for some business reasons, and really kind of hit it towards the beginning of the year to give our company the best 2013 moving forward and not impact, you know, in the middle of the year. So we actually, you know, we did an accelerated path. It took us 2 months, but I can attest that there's no way we could have done it without a change management process in place. We took the base core process and we examined it in a room for a couple days, and we kind of tailored it to what we thought it should be, and then we changed it as we went along. But so I mean, it took 2 months for us, which was very aggressive, but we pulled it off, and I'm glad we did it in such a tight, you know, time frame.
So how did Google Apps affect some of your business processes?
So I mean, when we look back on that, I think it's kind of 180'd a bunch of them. So people now, like for instance, Scrum teams, right? So we have a lot of development here. Team meetings. I mean, a lot of it would be, we got to call in and somebody's got to dial up. We have working from home. We have, you know, but now we're able to just, everybody hops on a morning hangout and they all discuss, you know, this is our latest, you know, code. They can discuss things over the video, share things. So that's been a positive, along with the docs. I mean, right? I mean,
makes it so much easier. Instead of sending back different versions, just, hey, here's the doc. We can get online together. Nick and I update it on the fly, be ready to go, and makes it faster and easier. You can be at home, don't need to bring your computer home. You can just get on gmail.weather.com and I'm online.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I answer a lot of my emails and do a lot of my stuff on my iPad while I'm watching NCIS or something at night, which has been very, very nice.
Great. So is there anything else that you guys wanted to cover in today's session? Any extra tips and tricks you can offer to all the businesses out there watching?
I think actually just say what we've been saying. Take the time to implement change management. It really, really had a big effect and help us be successful with our deployment.
And realize you got to be flexible. I mean, start with the change management idea. You know, start with the core, and then adjust it to how your company needs it to work. You know, so be flexible, be dynamic, and you got to have a really, really good IT guy. So come here.
We wanted to thank Chad.
Send a shout out to our main IT lead, Chad, who went above and beyond in this project and really
couldn't have done it without him.
Nope, no way.
Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing all this information with us. I found it really helpful and actually really exciting. And I think that's great that you guys put so much into this change and this monumental change for your company. I want to thank the panel, everybody for joining us, the Weather Channel and Carolyn as well. thank you again for all your feedback and tips and tricks. I also want to thank everyone who's watching us live. If you continue to have any questions, feel free to put them on the comment section of this post. Otherwise, we'll actually just post a recording in a few days to the Enterprise Plus page.
Great.
All right. Well,
Thank
keep
you.
calm and Google on.
All right, thanks everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.